Hey everyone, Cody from Mac Telecom Networks. Today we're going to be taking a look at a pair of new switches that help with redundancy for our ISP connections when we have our UniFi consoles in shadow mode. The UniFi WAN switches come with a dual power supply and are a 1U rack mountable device and provide redundancy, like I said, for ISPs. There's two different models of the USW WAN switch. One comes with SFP Plus modules and the other one is the RJ45. The RJ45 model is currently not out yet, but it should be coming soon. The WAN switches come in at $249 USD. Each WAN switch is only capable of handling one ISP. So if you have two ISPs like me, then you're going to have two WAN switches. On the front of the WAN switch, we have two SFP Plus outputs that would be running to our gateways. We also have one SFP Plus input that will be connecting to our ISP, a reset button, and then on the back we have 1 gigabit RJ45 management port, and then we have those two power supplies with the locking latches. I want to thank Ubiquiti for sending me these two WAN switches to do the video on. What we're going to do in this video, we're going to hook up the WAN switches to my ISP, and then we're going to put my UDM Pro Maxes into shadow mode, so let's get started. All right, we're down at my network rack now, and if you didn't see my network rack rebuild, I will put that in the description below, or I'll put it somewhere up top here so you could watch that. But we already have my WAN switches racked. You can see I have WAN switch, and then I have a UDM Pro Max. I have WAN switch, and then another UDM Pro Max. The WAN switches, they aren't powered up, and neither is that secondary UDM Pro Max. So I have the braided lockable cables. That's the first thing we're going to need to do. We have both of our WAN switches powered up as well as this second UDM Pro Max. What we need to do, we need to get this UDM Pro Max set up and up to date. Once it's up to date, we need to do a factory reset on it so that we could do the shadow mode. So let's go ahead and get that set up. You're going to see on screen here, I'm just using my UniFi network application, and it will show that there's a Dream Machine Pro Max ready to be found, and we'll press set up. It's asking us for a name for our Dream Machine Pro Max. It doesn't really matter what it's called. I'm just going to call it Test, and then we're going to press next. It's doing an internet speed test. We're getting about 2200 down. I'm going to press skip on that so we can move along a little quicker. And it is now setting up our UniFi OS, or it's preparing that. And you can see by this little icon that we are connected and the setup is going through. Once this is up to date, I'll do a factory reset, then we'll get it put in shadow mode. All right, before we get our WAN switches set up, we're gonna do our shadow mode. So you can see that this console is currently in factory default. So what I'm gonna do on our primary, I'm gonna plug it into port 1, and then on our secondary, I'm gonna plug it into port 8. Soon you'll be able to see that a new shadow console is found within our primary, and then we're gonna be able to start the initial setup. We have the basic shadow mode set up right now. We don't have the automatic shadow mode set up. We're first going to put our WAN switches in. These two cables right here, these are connected to the back of the management ports. Within the UniFi network application, you could see that the WAN switches are ready to be adopted. So I'm going to click on both of them and we're going to press adopt. Before we get the automatic shadow mode set up, we're going to end up setting up our WAN switches and plugging in our ISP connections to them. The 3 gig by 3 gig connection will go to the top one, and the 1 gig by the 40 will go to the bottom one. Both of our WAN switches are adopted, you can tell by this blue light. What we need to do, we need to bring our ISP connections to them. So the first one I'm going to do is that 3 gig connection. It will be plugging in down here on my patch panel to port 24, and we're going to be going up to this SFP Plus port. I'm going to have to take out this dust cover, and I do have a bunch of SFP Plus RJ45 modules. I will put a link on screen or down in the description for these. But we'll get this plugged in, and then we'll put our Ethernet connection up top to it. Now I'm going to have to do the exact same thing, but this will be for my slower Rogers connection. So we're going to have to take this patch cable and plug it in up top. So we have another SFP module. And then we'll go ahead and we'll plug it in on top. This cable might be a little bit too short, so I'm going to have to order a couple more. So right now, both my UDM Pro Maxes will be offline. They don't have any internet connection because you could see these SFP modules aren't connected. So that's the next thing we'll do. And we could do it with DAC cables or we could do it with Ethernet. So the first connection, I'm going to be using a DAC cable, a Ubiquiti DAC cable. We'll plug it into my 3 gig connection. And this will be going to the primary and it will be going up to port 10. For our slower connection, the 1 gig, we're going to have to also plug it in on top. So we'll take out the SFP dust cover and we'll get it on port 9, which is our 2.5 gig, and we need to grab another SFP module, an RJ45 SFP module, plug it in, and then connect them together. So now on our primary UDM Pro Max, we have our primary WAN connection and we also have our secondary WAN connection. The next thing for us to do is to set these up in automatic shadow mode. I'm leaving this cable in here because we will have to duplicate or make sure we have to match the cabling between the two UDM Pro Maxes, and you'll see that in the next step. The next step for us to do is to enable automatic failover or that shadow mode. These are currently in sync, but I'm going to click on enable automatic failover. It will take a few minutes to start preparing this. We're on step 1 of setting up the automatic failover, and what we need to do, we need to plug in port 7 of our primary to port 7 of our secondary. Once that's plugged in, we could click on verify, and this will verify the connection, and then we could press next. And then we're going to match our WAN connections. So on our WAN switch up top, we're going to plug it in, and this is going to go to port 10 of our secondary console. Now on our second WAN switch, we need to put another RJ45 module in, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And we're going to connect this to port 9 of our secondary console. Once the activity lights come on my phone, I'm going to press next and we're going to go to step 4. That's going to be to connect it to our network switch. Okay, and this is the last step to get the automatic failover done. So on the LAN port or port 11, I'm going to plug in another DAC cable and we're going to go down to my aggregation switch. With that all plugged in, we could press finish and it should be all set up and ready for us to go. The automatic shadow mode is connected and you can see right now the shadow gateway is ready to take over, so that's great. Let's go over to my devices and take a look at the WAN switches. Under the devices, we could see that I have two different WAN switches. The one is called Bell WAN Switch and the other one is the Rogers WAN Switch. My primary is that SFP Plus module in port 10, which is my Bell, to get me that 3 gig by 3 gig. By clicking on the Bell WAN switch, there really isn't too much to see. We can see the port manager and what everything is connected to. So if we look at our port 1, port 2, 3, or 4, port 4 is our management port plugging into my USW Pro XG PoE. We can click on the stats and that will give us statistics on each switch port, and then we could look at the different VLANs. Under our insights, it's just going to show us a history of what's been going on and then the system statistics, which will just show us our CPU and our memory. And then under the settings wheel, this is just like anything else. We could set replacement device, load configuration, manual firmware update, or we could remove the device. Let's go ahead and do some testing. The first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to rip the power out of my primary UDM Pro Max to make sure that the shadow gateway picks up. We're going to do a consistent ping as well towards 1.1.1.1-T. I do have to run down to my basement to do this, so it's going to take me a second. It will be sped up, and hopefully that shadow gateway comes up. Okay, and as you can see, we did have a couple pings that dropped, and the console is currently unreachable. We refresh this a couple times, it should come up. Now it's restoring the UniFi network application within our shadow gateway, and if we bring up the ping again, we could see that it's still going and I am connected to the internet. Once that comes back online, we're going to do a failover to our secondary ISP. I'm going to go back downstairs, but first we're going to do a consistent ping towards 1.1.1.1, and then I'm going to disconnect that primary WAN switch, and it should fail over to my secondary WAN switch. We could see the failover happen right here, and we did drop one ping, but you could tell it did go over. On our fiber connection, we have 4 milliseconds, and on our coax, we have about 10 to 17 milliseconds. And that's going to be my video on the USW WAN switch. I do like these WAN switches and the way that they look in my network rack. Having the dual power supplies is also great. There is one thing missing, which is the LCM, but do we really need that on a WAN switch? A couple things about my setup: my Bell fiber internet, it is in double NAT, and my Rogers, that is a static IP, and it worked perfectly between both of my consoles when I was doing the failover testing. If you have any questions about this video, please leave it in the comments below. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up button. If you're new here, please subscribe and hit the bell icon. All right, thanks.